Acting Vice-Chancellor, Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Academic and Student Affairs, Dr. Sizwe Mabizela, members of the Steering Committee of the Global Forum for Media Development, GFMD, Ms. Bettina Peters, Executive Director of GFMD, sponsor and donor representatives, leadership, membership of the African Editors Forum, the South African Editors Forum, members of the Diplomatic Corps, speakers and chairs in the program, delegates, good morning and welcome to Grahamstown. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to Grahamstown and the 16th Highway Africa Conference. As you would have seen in your programs, the theme of this conference is Africa Rising, how the media frame the continent's geopolitics, trade and economic growth. Now in his book, The Post-American World, some of you might have read, Time editor Fareed Zakaria refers to the rise of the rest, those regions of the world that previously had been seen as marginal, but in recent years have been shifting the center of gravity of the global geopolitical landscape. The invitation to South Africa to join the BRICS group of emerging economies is perhaps one of the most recent indications that Africa is also repositioning itself within this new global world order. And only last week, when I picked up our weekly newspaper, The Mail and Guardian, there were two reports in it that seemed to confirm this impression that Africa is on the rise. And those sort of random reports, but I thought they were signaling something of what we are trying to talk about here at this conference, and the theme of the conference is Africa Rising. The first report was on the South African media company Naspers, which is currently riding the big Chinese wave, as Mail and Guardian called them. It invested in the Chinese internet solutions provider Tencent, and that investment now accounts for 80% of the media conglomerate's 200 billion rand market cap. And while other social media stocks, most notably Facebook and Groupon, continue to plummet, the report went on to say, Tencent appears to be a testament to the growth potential in emerging markets. So emerging markets for media companies are important to take note of. Another report in the same paper celebrated the fast growth of Africa's middle class. According to a recent study by Deloitte, the growth of the middle class on this continent is the fastest in the world. And that opens up attractive opportunities for businesses across the continent. So those two reports seem to support the idea that Africa is rising. Maybe we even wanted to put an exclamation mark behind that, Africa Rising. But we decided to put a question mark in the title, After Africa Rising, because this conference is not about uncritically celebrating economic growth on the continent. We also want to ask the more difficult questions and point to some of the anomalies and paradoxes of this growth. The same report that cited the Deloitte study about the African middle class points out that only 1 in 3 people on the continent live above the poverty line. Average income on the world's poorest continent remains lower than anywhere else. And there also remains a big split between urban and rural populations. Similar anomalies attend upon South Africa's recognition as one of the rising economies in the BRICS group. While South Africa's membership of BRICS has been widely welcomed as a strategic opportunity for the country to align itself with emerging economies, critics have also pointed to the small size of the South African economy relative to its BRICS counterparts. Moreover, South Africa remains one of the most unequal countries in the world. I'm sure you would have seen the signs of that already as you drove into Grahamstown. These persistent internal inequalities militate against any premature celebration of economic success. So that's why we put the question mark behind Africa Rising. The new relationships forged within this alignment of states have at times also been controversial. Especially the increasing involvement in China in Africa has received much media attention, and we will unpack some of those framings, the way that these new international relations have been presented in the media will be unpacked in some of the sessions, most notably also the seminar on media in the BRICS countries that will take place, or that will start this afternoon and go on tomorrow afternoon. So for media scholars and practitioners, the changes in the international landscape pose challenges for how we understand global communication. The rise of new regional centers in Asia, Latin America, and sub-Saharan Africa, acting as nodes for increased transnational flows of media content and capital, makes it necessary for us as academics, journalists, and members of civil society to think more comparatively of our own work within the global south. The theme of this year's conference, Africa Rising, how the media frame the continent's geopolitics, trade, and economic growth, therefore wants to position Africa within these new sets of global relations and interdependencies. Over the next 3 days, we will together explore how the media and all its various facets have sought to make sense of these shifts in global power, the emergence of the BRICS alignment of states, the entry of China into the continent, and the future of Africa itself. So given these global perspectives that the conference theme invites, it is very fitting that we could also welcome the Global Forum for Media Development as a partner to Highway Africa this year, and we're particularly pleased to have you here today. The global networks that the GFMD bring to this conference will surely enrich our discussions. We're also very pleased to welcome guests from all around the continent, around the world, from India, China, and from many other countries in the world that will enrich the way that we think about Africa and Africa's place in this new global relations. In this globalized media environment, social media, of course, plays an increasingly important role, and several sessions will focus also on these new platforms. And in that context, I also would like to, some of you might have missed Michael Salzwiegel's presentation this morning on Highway Africa Now. Make sure to go online to www.hanow.co.za and sign up for Highway Africa Now. It's the first time that we at the conference has had such a MOBI site. It's very exciting for us to be able to use that also in this context. It's built on Nika Now, that is software that is developed at Grocos Mail to power the MOBI site Grahamstown Now that runs regularly in town, and we now also would like you as delegates to Highway Africa to sign up to this. All the news that we source from the website highwayafrica.com will be published there, and the site will also aggregate all conference-related tweets. So those of you who will be tweeting away, as we hope you will, or already are, the hashtag for this conference is HAGFMD2012. Apparently there was some other conference somewhere that also used HA, so we can use HA, so it's slightly longer. Hashtag HAGFMD2012. So use that as a hashtag when you tweet about the sessions, about the plenaries that are upcoming. And those tweets will then also be aggregated onto that MOBI site. All of you, all the delegates have been already partially registered on the site, but you will need to choose a password and log in if you want to comment and participate in the discussions there. So make sure to go online and register. And for those of you that might be interested in developing this site, using the site also for your own newspapers or events in the countries where you come from, please speak to Michael or to Steve Kromberg. They're up there. Go and speak to them and find out how you can also use this same software back home for your newspapers or events that you are hosting. So in conclusion, on behalf of the School of Journalism and Media Studies at Rhodes University, I would like to thank all the sponsors, partners and participants who have made this conference possible. Thank you to Rhodes University for the support provided to us, and to the Highway Africa Steering Committee, my colleagues in the School of Journalism and Media Studies, who have provided input throughout the year in planning this event. In particular, I would like to thank Conference Director Chris Kabuatu and his team, who have worked tirelessly and will remain working tirelessly for the rest of the conference to make everything happen and make everything go smoothly. Welcome again to Highway Africa 2012. I would now like to call on the Acting Vice Chancellor of Rhodes University, Dr. Sizwe Mabizela, to welcome delegates on behalf of the university. Dr. Mabizela.